Today we're going to take a look at quick change blues. Now quick change blues is based on your basic 12-bar blues pattern. So today we're going to take a look at that pattern in the key of A. And if you think back to your basic blues pattern, you play the first 4 bars hanging out on the A chord. Well, what we're going to do with quick change is in bar 2, instead of staying on the A chord, we're going to change to the D chord, and you'll see that it really adds some variety and a little bit of a lift and movement to your regular plain vanilla 12-bar blues progression. So with that, let's dive right into it and we'll take a look at this thing bar by bar. Okay, let's break down the first 4 bars. For bar 1, we're going to work mainly around our old familiar A shuffle pattern. But we're going to introduce one new note, and that's the flat 7, which is the G here at the 4th string, 5th fret. And we're going to add a little bit of a melody to the piece. Instead of just going back and forth, we're going to keep a melody going on this 4th string. Here's what it sounds like. So here's the melody. In bar 2, we move to our D chord. Remember, this is quick change blues, so we're going to introduce a chord change very early in the progression. And that's happening here at bar 2, and we're moving on to our D. We're doing exactly the same melody, only on a different string set. So it's the same melody structure, just up a little higher in pitch. And we're going to do that around the 2nd, 4th, and 5th fret on the 3rd string. So here's that melody again on the D chord for bar 2. Alright, so then we're going to move into bar 3 and we're back to our A chord here, but we're going to do something a little different. Just to kind of spice things up a little bit, instead of just hanging out on that same chugging rhythm pattern, we're going to introduce a little chordal movement. So let me play bar 3 for you and then we'll break down the chord. Okay, so that's bar 3, and you can tell that I'm breaking free of this kind of rhythm up here, and I'm moving into a chord which is actually an A7 chord. It's a form of an A7 chord, and I'm playing it here with my first finger on the 5th fret. This is that flat 7th note on the 4th string. 3rd string, I've got my 3rd finger coming over and I'm picking up the 6th fret. Then back to the 5th fret, I'm sneaking this finger, the 2nd finger in on the 2nd string. It's kind of like your old familiar basic D chord shape, only we're playing it on a different string set and up a few frets. So here again, around the 5th and 6th frets. And the cool thing is you can actually strum the open 5th string, which is the A note, and it makes that chord just sing, and it sounds really cool, nice and bluesy chord. So here's the rhythm of how we're getting from our chugging rhythm pattern up to this chord, which we're going to let it ring nice and clearly. So here's bar 3 again. That's the main point there, is switching from one rhythm to the other. We just finish out with a couple of strikes of the open 5th string while letting the chord ring. So that's bar 3. We're going to move on to bar 4, and we're going to move that chord around just a little bit. So here's bar 4. So basically we're playing this A7 chord, strike that twice, but then back up 1 fret. And this is a very bluesy thing to do as well. We talked about chromatics in an earlier lesson, and this is a little chromatic chord movement, which sounds nice and bluesy. And it kind of gives you another tool to just get away from chugging along like that. Nothing wrong with that when you need to lock into the groove, but to spice things up a bit, try something out like bar 3 and 4 here. Alright, so bar 5, we're back on the D chord, and we're going to keep our shuffle pattern going, and we're going to work in a little bit of melody line on the 3rd string. Here's what it sounds like. It's a little different than that familiar melody from bar 1 and bar 2. Here we go. So the main difference is the last beat, we're just holding this note out. And letting it hang, which I think builds a nice little tension in this piece. Listen to it again. Sometimes you gotta let the music breathe. And we move on from there to bar 6, which is very similar except for the last note, the last little chord that we're gonna do. Only thing different is instead of just hitting my open 4th string and the 5th fret 3rd string, I'm instead fretting it a little differently. I'm making sure that my 1st finger is here on the 3rd string so that I can come up here and with my 3rd finger grab this note on the 2nd string, 7th fret. It's a nice little mini D7. Which again, these 7th chords, really bluesy, so that's why we're throwing this in. So let's play these 2 bars back to back and you'll see how they kind of work together. Here's bar 5. Alright, and that was bar 6, and then we're into bar 7, which is back on the A. And again, we're going to keep our melody somewhat the same, but a little bit different, just to keep things interesting. So here's the melody for bar 7. And bar 8 is slightly different than that. There's a little bit of a call and response built into that melody, and it's setting us up wonderfully to go into bar 9. Alright, the last 4 bars of this quick change blues in A. And we're going to start with bar 9 to round this progression out. And bar 9, we're moving into the E chord. Only we're not going to do a shuffle here. We're not going to play any kind of chordal movement either. Instead, we're going to do a nice little lick using the notes out of the E blues scale. And how we're going to do that is we're going to start with a nice open E string, a low E string, then we're going to catch an open high E string, then 3rd finger is pulling off of the 3rd fret on the 2nd string to an open 2nd string, and then my 2nd finger is at the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, and then I'm hammering on from the open 3rd string to the 1st fret 3rd string, and then coming down and catching this E note on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and finally a low E. And that's the mechanics of the lick, but it's really important that you get the timing down. So let's hear what this lick sounds like. I'll play that slowly for you. Alright, so now we got to move back to our D chord, and we're going to do a nice little chord strum there. And we're going to start out by striking the open D string, that's the 4th string, and then fret your D7 shape, which is here I've got my 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, 1st finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, and then my 3rd finger, 2nd fret, 1st string. And here's the rhythm. Okay, so for bar 11, what you want to do is start out by striking your open A string, and then you want to be in position to work this turnaround down. And a great position to do that is plant your pinky on the 5th fret of the 1st string and leave it there for this bar entirely. It's kind of going to be that pedal tone. You'll hear it when we get to playing this bar, but you want your 3rd finger on this flat 7 note, again this G note, which is at the 5th fret on the 4th string, so that we can walk backwards, walk chromatically down in pitch until we get to the 2nd fret. So here's what it sounds like. I'll play it a little slowly for you, and you can watch what's happening here. It's a really cool sound, really classic sound. All right, again. All right, and that's setting us up for a nice little lick to end us out. And that lick sounds like. Alright, so we're going to start out by hitting the open 5th string. And that's a hammer on from the 3rd fret, 5th string, 4th fret, 5th string. And then I'm catching this E, 2nd fret, 4th string, and then an open low E. So you got a nice little octave move there, dropping down an octave. And then we're going to pump that E and walk up until we're right here ready to go up into the A note, which we can end the progression there. We can either end or you can start right back around on top. So let's listen to these last 4 bars put together, and I'll play it rather slowly so you can catch on, and then we'll play it up to speed. Here we go. Alright, and here we go up to speed, last 4 bars.